What is up, guys? What is going on? Hi, world out there. Another episode of Mind Renovation Nation. This is Nathan talking to you today, all about small multifamily construction. Yes. We're going to talk about completing your finishes on the show today. I'm super excited to be a part of sharing with you what I mean whenever I say completing your renovations. So, if you've been interested at all and wondering what is a complete renovation, like everybody sees HGTV, and how do you get it to that finished stage, the finished part of the project? I'm going to break it down for you today. I'm going to break down step by step all of the tools that you need in order to better understand how to bring a product, bring a home, bring a small multifamily to market. And so people have been asking me about this. And so I wanted to make sure that I took some time today to share with you what I mean about bringing a product to market, completing your renovation. Okay. So number one, let's talk about the point in the renovation that I'm actually talking about when I talk about the completion step of the renovation project. This is the point where your contractor has gotten to you and they called you up and they said, "Hey, Nathan, I wanted to let you know I'm done with the renovation." Okay, this is what we're talking about. We're going to talk about that point forward today when the contractor said, "I'm done with the renovation." First question I have is, are you? Are you? Well, let's make sure you're actually done with the renovation. Okay, so before your renovation started, you should have had a scope. That scope of work should have been provided to the contractor, and your job when they call you up is to go back through the home, back through the unit, and double check everything. Make sure everything, every line item on that scope was complete. And when I say line item, one of the major mistakes, first and foremost, to getting a project to finish to completion that most property managers make, and a lot of real estate investors who are trying to do it on their own make, is they don't have a detailed scope. They say, "We want you to paint the house," but they don't detail out which rooms or which walls in their scope. They don't take the time to document all of the different issues that are currently challenges inside the property, and they're expecting that contractor to think for them. I'll give you a perfect example. So a number of years ago, I was completing a project. And the project was a burnout. There was a fire in the attic, and the contractor said to me, "Nathan, we've completed the scope of the project. The roof's been reset. The trusses are there. All the electric has been restored inside the project. The roof's up. The house has been painted. We are completely finished." So I walk in and I noticed that the ceiling fans weren't rehung. And so I had to ask them about the ceiling fans. Why didn't we install the ceiling fans? Well, it wasn't on the scope of work. How's a contractor supposed to know? And now am I supposed to be in an argument with the contractor about not completing the scope of work at the end? No, you need a detailed scope of work. So the contractor picks up the phone, calls you. Let's assume you wrote a detailed scope of work, and you're now walking that house with the contractor to finish up that project. All right, so you're walking that house and you're making determinations. The first thing I'm going to do when I walk into that house, in order to make sure that that contractor is trained in order to work with me going forward, the first thing I do when I walk into that house is I'm going to see, did they pick up all of the construction materials? Are all of the construction materials picked up? Because I'm not paying a contractor until all of the construction materials and everything is cleaned out of the house. It needs to actually be what they would consider a contractor's clean to be finished. So did they get it to contractor clean? That's before I even open the door. I'm looking in the exterior. Did they get all the materials out? When I first open the door, I'm looking, did you get your materials out? I won't even walk a house for somebody unless that home is clean and done, brought to completion, because that's going to be on every scope that they took the second to get all their materials out. All right, next thing that we want to do in our final walkthrough is I'm going to have a pad of paper with me as I'm going through that walkthrough. And on that pad of paper, I'm going to double check and make sure that all of the things that I wanted to make sure were in the scope were done to fruition. So I have already pre-written on there things that I wanted to check on. Like maybe I wanted to check under the sink and make sure there was fire caulk there, that was actually complete. That's one thing. Those types of little detailed bullet point notes before I even walk in on the scope, I'm going to have those things written out. Then on that same piece of paper, the items that were supposed to be on the scope, because I'm going to compare that scope to that's where I got the things that I want to check or the notes I wanted to make, because I come in prepared like a professional. And so when I check those items, I'm checking off the scope items, but I'm also checking my detailed items. Okay, here's the thing. If they didn't complete everything on the scope, I'm going to go through and walk the property and say, these 4 items were not completed on the scope. At the same time, if there's any additional punch items that need to be done, meaning clean, safe, functional items that were missed on the initial scope, I'm going to also make sure I detail them at this time. If I need to get a separate bid with that particular contractor, then I'll get a separate bid on those additional items. But I need to make sure the home is complete. It's ready to go. So the contractor's done. They've got all their materials out of the home, and I'm double checking all of my scope items and the detailed aspect of that scope item. Then I'm going to confirm clean, safe, and functionality of that home. If I need a second scope, I need a second scope. If there's things I couldn't just get in the initial renovation and I need to add them to make sure that that contractor's paid. Now, depending on how you negotiate things with your contractor, there might be a budget for punch items. There might be a predetermined budget for punch items. So that's something that you might have to work out on your own. But I'm checking all of the house again to make sure it's clean, safe, and functional. I'm going to run the dishwasher. I'm going to open up the refrigerator and make sure it's cooling. I'm going to turn on all of the burners on the stove. I'm going to open up every faucet and make sure the waters are running. I'm going to do a detailed inspection. And I know in the city of St. Louis, I know what you're thinking right now. Well, they're going to do a detailed inspection with an inspector prior to that tenant moving into the home. And in some municipalities and in some counties, they're going to do that in St. Louis. That's a different kind of inspection. They're inspecting specifically to building codes and safety of that particular home. What I'm checking for is clean, safe, and functional. I want to make sure that overflow on the bathtub is not leaking all over the place and causing more damage to the asset. Clean, safe, and functional means that when that home is move-in ready, that a tenant can actually move in and use the home without having to call in multiple work orders. The tenant might still move in because it's a brand new renovation or new construction and find little issues that are going on with the home. But I want to catch as many of those as possible up front so that I don't get that work order. It's a little game I play trying to make sure and ensure that we don't get that second and third and fourth call about issues going on in the property. Clean, safe, and functional means did you check the HVAC system and make sure it's working properly? I don't know how many times over my career I get a proverbial phone call because we didn't do this process early on. And I would get a proverbial phone call from a tenant that moves in and they don't have HVAC. So now I have a brand new move in, somebody that potentially could be a advocate for our organization. They could be a testimonial. They could be somebody that puts out a good name for the property or the small multifamily to all their friends and family that want to come live there and live long-term and pay their rent on time. And here's the problem. They move in and their HVAC system doesn't work. Now, do you think they're going to talk well about you? Do you think they're going to say good things about you? No, come on. So that's what we got to do. We got to make sure that the HVAC system works. All of the faucets work. We got to make sure the hot water works. We need to make sure that the stove works. Every burner on the stove works. Every window opens and closes. The blinds go up and down. We've got to double check every aspect of that home. The doors, they close and open easily. There's no jamming or trying to rip the door open, or a closet door is not going to be pulled off the track because it won't slide properly back and forth. These are all things that you have to consider when you're checking for clean, safe, and functionality and writing your punch list. The next thing that we're going to talk about is inside, downstairs, and outside. I don't know how many times over my career I've worked with new property managers that go to walk a property, and I ask them, did you do the inside? Yeah, I did the inside. Did you do the outside? No, they didn't walk all the way around the house and see that a piece of siding was missing off of the back of the property, or that a tree had fallen over in the backyard and the tenant would call and complain about that particular issue. No, 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 no. They're just walking the inside of the house, blinders on, and walking out to make sure that that scope was done. Guys, we're trying to get this project to the finish line. We want to make sure that everything is done prior to the tenant moving in that needs to be done on that home, so that the tenant can move in and have a wonderful experience. I don't know how many times I walk into a home after a property manager's walked it when I'm going to do a marketing walk, and I go down into the basement and there's exposed pipes, meaning a pipe had ruptured in the basement and nobody had replaced it. Nobody even checked the water. I don't know how many times in my career, I go downstairs and see cobwebs and spider webs all into the basement. Do you think that's going to be a pleasant viewing experience for a tenant to walk through their new property and picture themselves living in that home? So these are things inside, outside, and downstairs. These are all things that you need to check for clean, safe, and functionality. Now, once that's done, and the punch list is done by the contractor, all those items are done, all the items are out, the contractor has cleaned the home, we know that the home is contractor complete, but that home is not ready to show. If you're a professional in this industry, one of the things you do differently is you send professional cleaners through that home. That's professional cleaners and professional carpet cleaners. And the reason you do that is to add a wow experience to the tenant when they walk the property. If you wonder why you're not getting maximum rents for your property right now, this is probably a major issue that you have. You're probably doing a wonderful renovation. The house is probably beautiful. The unit is probably beautiful. It's just not professionally finished. See, a professional takes the extra second and does the extra work that needed to be done on that property to get maximum amount of benefit. Look, in anything in life, it doesn't matter what it is, guys. Maximum input equals maximum output. Think back to when you were in sports. If you put in a little effort to your team, did you have overall success? Or if you put in your maximum effort, did you have a better game? Did you have a better experience? The same is true about these renovations, guys. You got to take them all the way to the finish line. Once we have professional cleaners go in through the home, I know there's a debate in this industry, guys. I'm going to get to once the professional cleaners go through the home in just 1 second, but there's a debate, and this is a pet peeve of mine. The contractor clean versus a professional clean on the home. The contractor clean is good enough. No, it's not. Settle the debate right now and just know that the contractor clean is not good enough. What is good enough is a professional clean. Professional clean, professional carpet clean to show that property. All right, so then once all of that's done, there should be a final walkthrough on that property, certifying that that property is ready to go on the market, whatever that means, whether you're going to sell that property, whether you're going to rent that property out. You have a certification process that is happening in your business saying this property is ready to go on the market. And during that certification process, that's where you're going to get professional photos taken of that property. That's where you're going to change the locks so that you have a different set of locks on that property. You pull off the contractor's lockbox and you put on your showing lockbox, whatever that means to you. You also change the locks on the property, physically change the locks so nobody has access to that property. Let me tell you a story. I think it was about 2008. There was a rash of appliances that went missing in investors' property, and I couldn't figure out where these appliances were going. Guys, it was a contractor that was going back in, taking these appliances out of the property. So I think it's extremely important that you understand that, you got to change the locks after that process. Okay. So now you've certified the property, you've changed the locks, you've had a professional clean, you're insured the contractor's done, you've gotten professional photos of the property. You're also going to make sure when you do that final walkthrough, you document all of your amenities. This is the time where you're going to cultivate your marketing description. And then about every 14 to 21 days, you're going to do a vacant walk on that property no matter what. And when you do that vacant walk, my recommendation is you take what's called a sparkle bucket. I know it sounds crazy, but a sparkle bucket. This is like a mop and a broom and a dustpan and maybe some Windex and some 409. No, I'm not asking you to be cleaners. You have cleaners for that. But if it's just a simple touch-up, just touch up the property, guys. Touch it up so that people want to tour your property. They want to rent your property. They don't walk in and go, oh my goodness, what are all these footprints all over the living room floor? So these are some things that you can do to get your renovation to completion. So if you're trying to get your renovation to completion, I highly recommend that you go back and you watch this video and you take some notes. I will show you real quick a screenshot here of a finished product that we had on the market. Let me pop this up for you. There you go. So when we talk about finished, oftentimes I will tell you that many people think that finished is as good as the appliances sitting there wrapped with the refrigerator with the plastic still on the handles. And I'm going to tell you that's not a finished product. I've seen this way too many times. Some places I know are being shown to tenants and they look like the picture up there in the top left-hand corner. They look like the picture up there in the top left-hand corner. The picture that's in the top left-hand corner is the exact same property is the finished product that you see on the right-hand side of that left-hand corner picture. Same property. If you go over to the right side and you see the floors have been finished on the hardwood floors on this particular property. Look, there's still radiator heat in this property. We didn't change that out. But what we did do was finish the renovation. And you can see down here at the bottom what a marketing photo on that property might look like. What a marketing photo on that property might look like down on the bottom right-hand side. Let me see if I can back this out just a little bit for you guys. All right, let me see if I can reshare that with you so that you can actually see what the finished product looked like. Here you go. There you go. So there you go. That's what a finished marketing photo of something that's clean, safe, and functional looks like. If you notice, we have the light on above the sink. Why? To demonstrate to the tenant that it's clean, safe, and functional. Provides more natural light in the picture. All right. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about clean, safe, and functional, professional fit photos. All of the contracting materials out of the property. The property is ready to be shown. Locks have been changed. Went through the entire process with you guys to take a project to completion. So please do me a favor. If you're in this industry, if you follow Red Maples at all, if you follow me and you're trying to be a better investor, please take your property all the way to the finish line. Please stop shortchanging yourself when the contractor calls you and says they're done and then you just start marketing your product. That's not a finished product. This is a finished product. All right, guys, this is another episode of Mind Renovation Nation. If you like this video, I highly recommend that you share my video. I highly recommend that you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like this video. I highly recommend that you follow me on Facebook or LinkedIn. You're going to get a lot of information about how to, complete your renovation. That's finished. Now what's next? Marketing and leasing? I don't know. How do we syndicate properties? How do we find more tenants? What's next? How do we grow a portfolio? I don't know. What's next? The sky is the limit, and we've got an infinite number of ideas of content that are being formulated right now as we talk. But what tells us what content to share with you is what you put in the comments, what you email me directly, what you text me and ask, hey, Nathan, can you share a little bit more information about this? I'd be happy to do so. Just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you like and follow for more information. Again, this is Nathan with Mind Renovation Nation. You guys have a good afternoon.